Hi everyone. For this lesson I'll show you how to use different measures to compare and interpret data sets. The three measures of central tendency that we're going to look at are mean, median, and mode. For the mean, think of it as the average. The median, think of that as the middle number. And the mode, think of that as the most, in terms of the most frequent. Alright, so let's take a look at this data set, which consists of test scores, and we have 5 test scores. And we want to find the mean, also known as the average. So what we have to do is find the sum, which is just to add up all 5 test scores, and then divide that by how many test scores that we have. In this case we have 5 of them. So let's save you the calculation and just do it out. When you add up all 5 test scores, the sum comes out to 415. Okay, and obviously there are 5 test scores, so this is equal to 5. Okay, so to find the average or the mean, you just take the 415 and then divide that by 5, and that is equal to 83. Right, so that means the average of the 5 test scores, or the mean, is 83. Alright, so now we're ready to take a look at the second measure of central tendency, and we refer to that as the middle number, or the official name, which is the median. Right? You have to be careful here. The first thing you want to do is put all of the numbers in order. Right? So I did that for you guys. So the first number is 60, and then 75, 88, and so on. So once you put the number in order, the next thing you want to do is pick out the middle. So now here we only have 5 numbers, so the middle is the 88. So once you find the middle, that is the median. Okay, so the median of this data set is 88. Alright, the third measure of central tendency is the mode, and we refer to that as the most frequent. And looking at our data set, after we put the numbers in order, right, we have a 60 here, a 75, an 88, a 92, and a 100. And they're all different, so there are no repeats. Okay, so if that's the case, we can say that there's no mode for this data set. Right? Now if we were to change this to, let's say, add another data value, let's say we have another 100 here, right? So we include that as our data set. So now the mode will change to 100. Right, because that's the most frequent, right? And if, let's say, let's add another data set. Let's say we have another 60 added to this data set, right? So in this case now, we have 2 modes, and they are the 60 and the 100. So in summary, it's possible that a data set has no mode, like the first case that we looked at, where there are no repeats. It's also possible that a data set has only one mode, right, which is when we add the 100. And it's also possible that a data set has 2 modes, right, when we added the 60 there. And normally we just stop there with the 2 modes. Alright, so now let's take a look at the measure of spread, and the most common one is the range. And in order to calculate the range, you have to put the numbers in order. So I did that for you guys down here. And you want to take a look at the biggest number, which is the 100, and the smallest number, which is the 60. So in order to calculate the range, it's just the difference of the two numbers, right? So we'll take the biggest number, we'll call that the max, minus the smallest number, and we'll call that the min, and that should give us the range, right? So in this case, the biggest number is the 100 minus the 60, and that'll give you 40, right? So the range for the data set is 40. Another concept that we'll look at, which is important when we look at the mean and the median, is the outlier. Now the outlier is referred to as the data value that is either much greater or much less than the rest of the data values, right? So looking at our test scores, let's say you have a score that is a 7, right? The 7 is referred to as the outlier. Okay, so because the 7 doesn't really fit in with the rest of the data values. Okay, so the 7 is known as the outlier. Okay, so now to recap, we first looked at the 3 measures of central tendency, which are the mean, right, which is the average, the median, the middle number, and the mode, the most frequent. Okay, and then we looked at the measure of spread or measure of dispersion, right? And the most common one is the range, and that's just the max minus the min, or the difference between the biggest number and the smallest number. And then we last looked at an outlier, right? An outlier is just a data value that doesn't really fit in with the rest of the data set. Okay, and we're done, and we're happy.